Hi everybody, welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. You'll have to excuse the noise of fireworks in the background if you can hear that. I don't know if you can. I'm recording this on the 4th of July. We are in for the night, but fireworks are still going on. I wanted to read again from this book, The Refiner's Fire by President Alvin R. Dyer. The last video that I recorded, we were reading out of this. I'm not sure when I'm going to publish everything, but I was looking at the foreword and I found it really interesting. There's a quote about the second coming that I think that you'll like, and it's really interesting to contrast what was said back then. This was published in 1960 and what we're seeing today. So before we read this, I want to remind you of a quote from Elder D. Todd Christofferson. This was relatively recently said, June 4th, 2024, Church News Podcast, episode 191. And this is what he said. You don't see things unfolding that are unfolding. You don't see what the Lord is putting in place. And the people, the key people, and the key moments that are happening, you're not cognizant of all that is going on in the moment. And I don't blame myself or anyone else for that. I mean, we are human, we are mortal, and we have a limited perspective. But we ought to have the faith, I would say to myself, have the faith that the Lord is doing his work and can do his work, and that your part of it can be helpful, can be meaningful, and more will come of what you are doing than you perhaps imagine, or certainly more than you can see right now. So we read this from my spreadsheet called Quotes, Common Misconceptions. The misconception being prophecy cannot be fulfilled unless I am aware of it. And you hear this all the time. People will say, well, we haven't seen this yet, or we haven't seen that. Well, how do you know what it's supposed to look like? How do you know that you're actually going to see it? A lot of these statements are made based off preconceptions of prophecy. Now, let's go back to Refiner's Fire. And I found a lot of this really interesting. Now, keep in mind, President Dyer, he had a special mission. I'm not going to go through all of his callings, but suffice it to say, he was brought in as a third member or a counselor in the first presidency to perform a specific mission with the lands in Missouri. He did stuff with Adamonte-Yaman. He did stuff with the Far West. Here in Independence, the Independence Visitor Center, which was built to be a temple of the 24 temple complex, but it's currently being used as a visitor center. He did a lot. It was a very significant thing that he did under the direction of President David O. McKay. And I think that's why he wrote this book, so that people would have some sense of what he did and what's happening in Missouri. Now, this is back in 1960, okay? So, all right. He says, you will enjoy a visit to beautiful Missouri, where will be found many places of historic significance to the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and others. I can back that up. If you haven't come to Missouri, I would encourage you to do so. At least come to visit. I'm not saying come move here unless you feel prompted to, but at least come visit. All right, he continues. Much of the crucial history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the pre-Nauvoo period took place in Jackson, Clay, Caldwell, and Daviess counties. The movement through the state of Missouri, under pressure of a religious people displaying great faith in the restored gospel of Jesus Christ, a willingness to follow the prophet Joseph Smith in the face of many hardships brought on by persecution, provides a saga unparalleled in American frontier history. Expelled from Jackson County, some thought they had found a place of welcome in nearby Clay, but this was not to be, for their enemies from Jackson County fanned the flames of oppression in this county, which was to lead to expulsion here also. 2 new counties were created for them by the Missouri State Legislature under the sponsorship of Alexander W. Donovan. In these, Caldwell and Daviess, it was thought by many both in and out of the church that the problem of settlement for the Mormons had been answered. But angry and opposing forces kept rising, denying them any permanent abode in any part of Missouri, which at that time was not friendly to the Latter-day Saints. Under extreme persecution, the Saints were forced to leave the state to settle beyond the boundaries in Nauvoo, Illinois. This became a thriving city, the largest in that state at that time. But time and place seemed to matter not to but time and place seemed to not matter to the oppression of the saints in these perilous days. After a few short years of intermittent peace and persecution, with Joseph Smith, their prophet, and his brother Hiram martyred, they were once again forced to abandon all and submit to an exodus to the valley of the Great Salt Lake amidst the distant Rocky Mountains, then outside the confines of the United States. This exodus was accomplished with great hardship and suffering, but with true courage, born of dedicated purpose, they became a mighty people under the leadership of Brigham Young and other prophets of God who have succeeded him. Now look at this. Today, so this is in 1960, today, Missouri and her people are friendly. Branches and wards of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints flourish in her many cities. In the city of Jefferson, from whence came the ill-famed exterminating order, there now stands a dedicated chapel to the Lord, completed in 1956. A stake of Zion has been set up in the Jackson County area, further indicating the progress of the church in this, the designated future, quote-unquote, center place of Zion. A stake has also been organized in St. Louis, making 2 in historic Missouri at the present time. Okay, now, a lot has happened since then. There are more than just 2 stakes in Missouri. And at this time, when he was writing this, there wasn't even a temple in Missouri. Back in the early days, they tried to build a temple here in Independence, Missouri, in Far West, and at Adamon-Dayaman, but that never happened. It will someday in the future. But as of right now, and this would probably blow him away if he was able to see the future. I don't know, maybe he has. But now, if we go to a temple map, we have 2 temples that have already been constructed in Missouri. The first one was the St. Louis Temple. It was dedicated in 1997. It's interesting that that number ends with the 7. I always like to point those things out. And then the Kansas City Temple, which is the closest to the center place. It's just about, I think, like 17 minutes from here, where I live in Independence. It was dedicated in 2012. I've always felt like the 12 in there is also significant. The number 12 makes you think about the 10 or the 12 tribes of Israel. And that happened as the quote unquote Mormon moment was happening, where the church was getting a lot of exposure. There was the I Am a Mormon campaign, the Book of Mormon play, which is, satire, but it's brought a lot of attention to the church. And other things were going on. Mitt Romney. It was at that time that the Kansas City, Missouri temple was dedicated. And now, today, we have a 3rd temple that's been announced down here in southwest Missouri, the Springfield, Missouri temple. So here's what it's going to look like. We have the rendering. And according to churchofjesuschristtemples.org, it is currently in the planning and approval phase. As soon as it's done, I'm going to go down there. Well, first of all, I'm going to go through it, of course, and perform some ordinances, but I'm going to take pictures and video. Now, I want to remind you, I've started a new channel called Explore Church Sites, and my inventory of videos is growing. Here's one for the Kansas City, Missouri temple. Here's one for the St. Louis, Missouri temple. But I am trying to hit up all the church sites. Every single one. There's a lot of lesser known places that I think a lot of people don't go to when they come and visit Missouri. So I want to try and bring some of these things to light so that when you come here, you'll know, there's 3 different places in historic downtown Independence to go see. In Liberty, there's the 8 Witnesses Monument. There's a lot of people that don't know about some of these sites. And I'm trying to go not just to the Missouri sites, but also, Nebraska, Winter Quarters, Nauvoo. And I'm even going to come to Utah later this year. And I plan on doing some filming there too. So please make sure to subscribe. This is really good. If you can't make the trip to Missouri or Nauvoo or Winter Quarters, then please watch these videos because I guarantee that you will feel the spirit and you'll feel something special. And it's not just a one and done thing. I'm going to do many videos in the future of all these sites over again, different times of the year. But anyway, so temples, right? So now we have 3 temples in Missouri itself. And then near Missouri, we have the rebuilt Nauvoo temple, which, that's not new anymore, but I can't remember when was it 2002 that it was dedicated. So that was pretty incredible that happened. We have the Des Moines, Iowa temple that's also in the planning and approval phase. The Winter Quarters temple, the Wichita temple, which would have been my temple if I had stayed at the property that we owned before moving here. So there's all these like temples that are popping up. Oh yeah, of course, there's the Bentonville, Arkansas temple down here. That's only 3 hours away from the Kansas City area. So there's a lot of growth, I think, right now in the Midwest, and especially centered on Missouri. There's another thing, someone had told me about this that was in the far west stake. That stake has been divided into 2. So now you have the far west Missouri stake, and then this newly created stake, the Grand River Missouri stake. Grand River is the river that flows through Adirondack. It's on the south side of the valley of Adirondack. And I know that there's been, boundary changes and stuff here in the Kansas City area. I'm still getting to know all the stakes and stuff that are here. But a lot of people are coming this way. I feel like a lot of it is because of home prices. That's why we're here. I'd probably still be in Arizona if it wasn't for, we wanted a homestead, and to buy the type of property that we wanted to buy, we weren't able to afford it in Arizona or anywhere west of Kansas, for that matter. But I feel like the Lord's hand is probably in that, and I've met a lot of people that have come here for that reason, just to be able to purchase a home and have affordable housing. So let's go back to the forward. Okay, 1960, they had no idea what was coming. Now in the year 2025, 3 temples that have been announced or are in operation, and then all these stakes, way more than just 2 stakes. It's really exciting. Okay, continuing. Chapels with their towers grace the skies of Missouri in ever-increasing numbers, bidding welcome to all who will answer the call of the message of the restoration, which is proclaimed unto the people daily by our many missionaries who are finding the people of Missouri friendly and receptive to our message. That's another thing. You might remember, if you watched this video, that let's go to my spreadsheet called Quotes A through Z, row 498 for Salt Lake Temple dedication. You may remember this. So this is from Elder Orson F. Whitney of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, the October 1917 General Conference. He says, "I wish now to refer to one of these men and to certain predictions that he made. I heard President Wilford Woodruff in April 1893, when the Salt Lake Temple was dedicated, declare that from that time forth, the Latter-day Saints would have more influence in the world, and their representatives would be treated with greater respect and consideration by their fellow men than ever before." And I do believe that has included Missouri, because I have this spreadsheet called Timeline Missouri. And ever since the dedication of the Salt Lake Temple, things have come to life in Missouri. Starting with just a few months after the Salt Lake Temple was dedicated, President Wilford Woodruff, President George Q. Cannon, Joseph F. Smith, and Elder Orson F. Whitney, they went, and also the Tabernacle Choir, they went to the Chicago World Fair, but on their way there, they stopped in Independence, Missouri, and they were well received. Here's the story right here. You can pause and read this if you'd like. Here's this as well. This is another account of it. Pause and read it. But they were well received by the mayor and the people of the city. And President Woodruff talked about how, strange that was, because the last time he was in Independence or in Jackson County, he had to go very carefully and be stealthy because there was still so much animosity toward members of the church. And now, all these years later, he was welcomed by the mayor of Independence. After that, in 1894, I think that this was a church member who lived here, Jerome E. Page. He wrote a letter to President Woodruff saying, hey, bring more members of the church here because all these businesses and people that live here, they would love for the church to send people to colonize this area. Later on, 1897, you had the first branch organized in Independence since the expulsion. I'm skipping a couple of these things. And then not too long after that, 1903, the first presidency authorized the purchase of the temple land that it owns in Independence, where the Independence Visitor Center is. Okay. And then the year after that, that's when it was actually purchased. It's interesting to note that the authorization of the purchase happened exactly, well, not exactly, but I don't know exactly what day. But in terms of years, it happened 70 years after the expulsion of the Saints from Jackson County. I feel like that's significant. And since that time, there's been lots of other developments. I'm not going to go through all these. I've already done a video about it. And I know that there's going to be more that I add to this, but it's just kind of interesting that it seems like the dedication of the Salt Lake Temple has opened the door, started paving the way back to Missouri. Not that everybody's going to come back here, but like I said, there's many people, many members of the church that are moving here, and it seems like the church is really growing here. Okay, back to this. Some few highlights of church history from the many printed historical records of our people is offered here. If for some reason or other the readers find sufficient interest to continue their study of these more comprehensive volumes, then at least one of the objectives of this book will have been accomplished. To the youth of the church, it is hoped this little volume will be of particular interest, kindling within them a desire to become familiar with our early church history, that there will be kept alive in their hearts a burning appreciation for those few who did so much for all of us. To every member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Missouri stands as a place of the future. Here, according to the revealed word of the Lord to the prophet Joseph Smith, many events will occur in the culmination of God's work in the latter days. The great priesthood meeting at Adamonte-Yaman, when the Ancient of Days Adam will counsel once again with his patriarch and prophet descendants, preparatory to the submittal of all things to the Christ, the building of the temples and the city of Zion in the center place, of which there shall be no other place appointed, are events looked for with great expectancy by every Latter-day Saint. Well, ideally, there's some people that think that the plan has changed. They don't think that there is going to be the New Jerusalem here. They think that it's changed. It's in Salt Lake or whatever. You guys, it's not true. Listen to prophets and apostles, not people that are going off of their own opinion or their own private interpretation of Scripture. I'm not going to pull it up right now, but President Nelson, in 2 of his recent books, has confirmed that Jackson County is still going to be the center place. It's going to be where the city of New Jerusalem is built. Okay, continuing. One cannot stay long in and about Jackson, Clay, Caldwell, and Davies counties in Missouri without feeling a sense of nearness of these mighty events of the future that are to happen in this area. That is very true. You guys, please try and make a trip out here if you can. I promise you it'll be worth it. Continuing, this is due in part, no doubt, to the increasing awareness of that which has already occurred and of its relationship to the future, serving to make it seem more alive and vital. One cannot deny, on the other hand, that time is getting shorter. Okay, here we go. That time is getting shorter. The blueprint of God's plan is before us. The fulfillment of prophecy occurs almost daily. The balance of time is waning. Makes me think about what we just read from Elder Christofferson. You don't see things unfolding that are unfolding. You don't see what the Lord is putting in place. And the people, the key people, and the key moments that are happening, you are not cognizant of all that is going on in the moment. This is exciting. In the words of James E. Talmage, quote, "The end is nearer than most people would wish," end quote. "For come he will, the Son of God, in all his glory and majesty, to fulfill his purpose and usher in the time of further preparation and the millennium. To the thousands that come to Missouri each year to search out its hallowed places of historic interest, there arise many questions. Some of these are," and then he goes through the questions, and then he talks about these in the book. So you can read this for free on archive.org. It's an online library. I would highly encourage anybody to read this book. There's many other good books, but this is the man that made a lot of what we have now in Missouri possible with the historic church sites. So again, in the meantime, if you can't come here, then watch my channel, explore church sites. I plan on doing many, many, many more videos, and these videos are going to get refined over time. I've already bought a GoPro so that the image quality will be better, but I'm still learning the best settings for my GoPro. So watch this if you can't come here, or if you can't come here now, and I guarantee that you'll like these videos. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.